Hey everyone, welcome to Be Our Guest, our weekly virtual happy hour with industry professionals. I'm Janki, Artistic Director of Live and in Color. We are an artist-serving organization dedicated to developing new stage works that promote and celebrate diversity. Please consider making a donation to Live and in Color today to support our artists who continue to make socially inclusive and bold work during this time. Just go to liveandincolor.org for more information. Now it's time to grab a cocktail and start leaving questions for our amazing guest in the comments. Please welcome an incredible actor from Broadway shows such as The Inheritance, Tuck Everlasting, and Choir Boy, the incredible Jonathan Burke. Hey. Hello, my friend.
Yeah.
Cheers. So good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm like crazy busy, oddly enough, during this time, but for good reason. So I am actually good.
Where are you tuning in from?
I'm from my home here in New York on the Lower East Side.
Lower East Side. Wow. Yes. And is New York originally home for you?
No, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland.
Ah.
Yeah. I've been here a while. So it feels like home for me.
Yeah. How did you, in Maryland, how did you first get into acting or the arts? What was that spark for you?
Oh my goodness. I literally vividly remember how I got into it, which was, so I grew up in church singing in choir, things like that. As a lot of little Black boys do, they go to Baptist churches, So I did that. And then I went to a middle school and they had this choir. And I was like, well, I'm going to audition for the choir. So I did that. And then the choir instructor was like, we do musicals here at this school. Please audition for this musical we're doing. And so I was like, okay. So they were doing a musical that she created. Her name is Kenyatta Hardison. She is incredible. This is at Cardinal Sheehan School in Baltimore, Maryland. And she created this musical called Motown Spectacular before Motown was on Broadway. She created a book and everything to string these Motown characters together through a story. And I auditioned, and then she cast me as Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and like other parts. But the main memory I have, the most vivid moment of it was the opening night when I performed My Sherry Amore as Stevie Wonder. And when I started singing that song, the audience like went crazy and they literally started screaming in the first few bars. And I was like, okay. So I just kept singing, and it ended and it was a standing ovation at the end. And so when that happened, I was like, oh, I could get used to this. I'm gonna be an actor. I was like, I'm going to be an actor now. And so from that point on, I literally decided, I'm going to act. And I became a member of the drama program she had, after school program, a traveling choir that she was a part of. Then I did all the musicals. And then I went to this performing arts high school, the Baltimore School for the Arts, which is a fantastic school that Jada Pinkett Smith went to, Tupac Shakur, Christian Siriano, tons of incredible artists that are out here doing very well. And I went there and it was incredible. And there was another amazing program called the Arena Players Theater in Baltimore, which is the oldest all-Black community theater in the country. And they had an after-school program, so I was a part of that as well. So I just was in it.
Wow! And how old were you when you first did that Motown musical?
I was 11.
Wow.
6th grade, yeah.
Oh, wow. And then you went on to Ithaca to your post-high school training.
Where we met.
Before we get to that, there you are.
The photo.
There you are in Rent. Jonathan and I met for the regional premiere of Rent at the Hangar Theater when you were right out of school. So that was, I feel like I'm one of the people that discovered you. I feel responsible.
Yeah.
I know one of the first shows out of school was Cats for you, right?
Right. Yes.
What was it like to start your career with such a dance-heavy show?
Oh my gosh. Well, at that time, it was great because I was young and ready and raring to go. I literally look at that show when the revival was on Broadway. I look at it, I'm like, what was I thinking? I would never. Yeah, you too, exactly. I could never do that right now. Like, I would have to do a lot of intense training to get back into the place where I would be doing that type of dancing 8 shows a week plus traveling with it. I mean, and at that time that was a non-equity tour. So it was bus and truck. I mean, we flew sometimes and we had some like week or 2 weeks sit downs, but we had some one-nighters and ice skating rinks, all kinds of crazy places. But honestly, it was such an amazing experience as a new actor coming out of college. It was a great way to really get my feet wet and like know what the business is like and learn so much and see the country. And I met so many people. My best friend I met during that time, he was on the tour with me, and it was a dream, truly. I mean, to be cast in a show before graduating, because I got cast in that before I even graduated. So to know you have a job as an actor in this industry that everyone is like, you may never work, it's really hard, to know that I had that was incredible. So I was
What role did you play in Cats?
Mungo Jerry.
Mungo Jerry. So you had to do those crazy turns.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I did.
I mean, I think a lot of people sort of rag on Cats because it's sort of for good reason with the movie that came out.
I never watched it.
Me neither. But, I think the one thing, having done it myself, people don't realize how hard it is. And I know for me, it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, physically.
Absolutely. Without question, the hardest physical show anyone could do. So we have this appreciation for it. But I also loved it when I was a kid too. I really did. I was one of the ones that loved it. It was one of the first musicals that I was obsessed with, that Kenyatta Hardison introduced to me at Cardinal Sheehan School in, I think, the 6th grade too. She showed it in class. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So I was obsessed. And then for that to be my first job out of college, I mean, it was a great full circle moment. It was incredible. And like, actually some of the people that were in that film that I watched, such as Terrence Mann and Ken Page, I ended up working with in my career as an adult down the line, which was a true full circle moment and real dream come true. And I told them both about it, and they were so gracious, and I loved them.
Yeah. So your first Broadway contract was the musical Tuck Everlasting, but you didn't actually get a chance to make your Broadway debut with the show. Can you share with us that story? That crazy story.
Crazy story. That actually was the show that I was in with Terrence Mann.
Yeah.
So that was a great moment. Yeah. So the week before we moved into the theater to start tech, we do all these run-throughs in the rehearsal studio. So the final run-through in the rehearsal studio, I was practicing a piece of choreography that was a little difficult for me to do, and I just wanted to perfect it, and I kept practicing it. It's like, I have to get this right. Of course, this is my Broadway debut. Like, I must be perfect. Like, you cannot be on the stage not doing the moves properly. So I was practicing on a break, and I was practicing the move, and I rolled over on my foot, and I broke my foot. So I then was on medical leave for 2 months because of this, and it ended up happening that the show only lasted for 2 months. So the week that I was to return to the show, the show closed. So I never actually stepped foot on the stage for this show that I had created and was so excited about. And I never got that moment to just share it with a full audience in the Broadway theater.
Yeah, which is, devastating for your first time out there. But yeah. I'm sure it affect, that kind of experience really changes you. How did that affect you just moving forward in your career?
Oh my goodness. It literally changed so much about me in so many ways. And I'm actually ultimately grateful for it, to be honest. So the thing about me is like you said, I did Cats like when I first graduated college. So I could always dance. Dance was something that I kind of had this natural ability for. I didn't start doing it until late in life. I really didn't take professional dance classes until college. But I was just naturally good at it, and I had this ability. And so because of that, I was cast in a lot of shows that were dance heavy, and which often equates to being in the ensemble of a show. You know, that's where the dancers live. Usually there aren't as many leading roles that you get to really dance in these days, especially. So I found myself doing a lot of ensemble work, and that's fine. I mean, we need that. That is, makes the show what it is. But that was never what I really saw as my vision for myself as an artist. I always saw myself actually as a leading man, principal roles, acting first, singing, then dancing was something, that I would throw in on the top. So I was in this Broadway show, Tuck Everlasting, in the ensemble dancing, and the thing about it is I was happy to do all the dancing that I did because it's such a great entree into the business. There are so many more opportunities when you're a dancer because ensembles consist of so many people. So, they need to fill those spaces. So it's a nice foot in the door to the industry. So I was very grateful for that. But when this happened, I said, okay, there has to be something, larger planned for my life. Why this happened in this way. I mean, the timing of it was just too perfect for it not to mean something. And so I really took some time to assess what it was. And while I was devastated in the beginning, I then started to realize, you know what? I think there is an opportunity for me to present myself to the Broadway community at large in a different way that is more in alignment with how I see myself. And that ultimately ended up coming with Choir Boy, which was the time that I actually stepped foot on the stage on Broadway. And that was a show that truly embodied every piece of me as a person and as an artist. And so I was just so grateful when that came about.
Yeah, and how did that come about? Because I know you originally started, were you with the development of that show, or, how did you get involved with the show?
So the show actually had been done off Broadway at MTC's Off Broadway Theater in 2013. I was not a part of that production, but they subsequently had different regional productions. Now, some of the regional productions were in affiliation with that MTC production, while others were not. I actually was not in one of the ones that was in affiliation with MTC. I was in one at the Studio Theater in Washington, D.C. that had nothing to do with MTC, different director, different music director, and everything. The only factor that was the same was that Terrell Alvin McCraney was the playwright, and he was still developing the piece, even though it wasn't part of MTC. He was friends with the director, who was Kent Gash, who was incredible. And so he came to continue developing the piece. He had no idea that it was going to go to Broadway or anything at that time either, when this was 2015 that we did this, 2014 winter, fall, into 2015 that we did this production. And so he was still developing it. And so he was there. And so we really built a connection, he and I, as friends and as artistic, associates. And he then asked me to audition for his new play that was coming out after that, which was called Head of Passes at Berkeley Rep. And so I auditioned for that and I got that role. So that kind of further solidified my kind of understanding of his work and my connection with him. And there was a deep, deep connection between his work and myself. I just felt so drawn to it. And so then when finally it was announced that it was going to Broadway, Choir Boy, I just was like, oh, okay, this could be good for me. I didn't want to put too many expectations on it because some years had passed and it's about high school students. So I was like, well,
you can still pass. You can still do that.
And that's not, but thankfully I wasn't. And, I went in and I went through the whole process of auditioning for that. It wasn't like I just got offered it or anything. I actually auditioned for several different roles actually in it, because originally when I was doing it in DC, I played one of the supporting roles, David Heard, in DC. But when it was going to Broadway, they called me in for that, but then I didn't get it. But then they called me in for the understudy for the leading role of Ferris because they were already using Jeremy Pope, who had done it at MTC Off-Broadway. Yes, there we are.
Oh, there you are.
There we are. And so he was already attached to the whole project. We already knew he was playing Ferris. So there was not an opportunity for me to play Ferris, but there was an opportunity for me to be his understudy. And I was absolutely thrilled with that opportunity. And so I went through that ringer and I booked that, and it was incredible.
And then you got to step in for the lead role.
Well, that was like the actual icing on the cake. Yeah. Thing, because I actually did not know that that was going to happen when I initially auditioned or when I got cast the first time. I just was under the understanding that I would be the understudy. But then a couple of weeks after I got hired, they called us back and they were like, so there's been some scheduling changes because Jeremy's in another show and they're opening at the same time that we intended to be open. So we have to change our schedule. So if our show extends, which they're hoping that it would do, of course, they were like, if it extends, Jeremy will have to leave. And therefore, we would like to offer you the role of Ferris, if that happens, when it extends. And so I was bumped up. It did happen. And I was bumped up to full-time leading man on Broadway in Choir Boy in the closing company. I got to close the show the last couple of weeks. And that was completely a dream come true. I mean, literally my dream. So it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was such an incredible play. I mean, what was it like to be able to make the part your own, after Jeremy having done it? I mean,
yeah. Well, you know what? Thankfully, our director, Trip Coleman, was so gracious in allowing me to bring myself to that piece. And I really, though, attribute that also to Terrell, because in the writing of this piece, it is all about a person finding themselves and expressing their individuality. So I think he really instilled in that character this need for an actor that can bring themselves to it and their individuality to it. So there's no way that you could bring someone in to be a replacement of another Ferris, because the whole premise is that he is an individual. So they want artists that are going to bring something that is unique about themselves, to the piece. They didn't want me to just be a carbon copy of what Jeremy did. And I was so grateful for that. I mean, he was fantastic in the part and he made it what it meant to him. And then, of course, I used that framework to tell the same story, but just through my lens. And it was really fun to be able to find the moments that were different between the two. And they were quite different, but both stories were still, I believe, very effective.
Yeah.
They were told.
I mean, the show was revolutionary in its storytelling and representation of Black men. Why do you feel so many people related to the story and it got the amazing response it did?
Well, I can't tell you how many people at the stage door, every single performance would come up to us and say, thank you for telling my story. I have never seen myself represented on a Broadway stage ever until this moment. And that meant the world to me. Like when I would walk down 47th Street and just see the marquee with the poster of those 5 Black boys' faces high above the theater, I just was so proud and honored to be a part of it and to know that there would be other Black actors out there looking up and saying, oh, wow, I can do that too. They did it. I see myself in that, and it's possible. So it was really, really important for that piece to happen. And, I just keep hoping that more and more work such as that, gets produced, because visibility, it really matters. For you to dream something, you have to see it as a child. And we were able to provide that for not only children, but adults that were, wanting to be in the industry still, that haven't, seen themselves represented.
Wow. So beautiful. So I had the great fortune of seeing you twice I sat through it twice in The Inheritance, the incredible play on Broadway, just before everything shut down. It was such a powerful show. What was it like being part of that just epic production?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that was another really incredible experience, and another experience that really was very important about representation. I mean, a story that is about gay men, all gay men, is very important to be told in different aspects of our lives, not just one. It was such an epic story. So it had to cover so much and so many different types of gay men. And it was so fantastic. But to be a part of a 2-part play that was 7 hours long was a huge feat that I never thought I would be a part of. But I feel like I accomplished something huge just in the way that I feel like Cats was one of the most difficult things. That was also one of the most difficult things to have done. Just the amount of focus that is required and attention to detail and being present for all those hours. I mean, it ain't easy, but it's well worth it. It was fantastic. And, we'll see what happens with the award seasons coming.
I mean, it was really one of, for me, one of the top 10 ever in my life of theater going experiences that I was so proud of you for being part of. And I was, not to give too much away for people who haven't seen it, but you were in one of the sort of catalysts in one of the sort of key scenes that to this day is one of the most cathartic, theatrical, beautiful experiences I think any theater goer has ever experienced. I've never been in a theater with uncontrollable sobbing from everyone.
Never. And that was every single performance. Without fail. I mean, that communal experience of going through something is what makes theater so beautiful and why we miss it so much. And that every day I just felt so grateful to be a part of that. And every time before I started that scene, I actually would give a moment of gratitude to the ancestors and those who came before me that I was trying to, invoke and, share their story in that moment. And I just said, please let me be a vessel and let me tell your story. And thankfully, again, like at the stage door, it was always people still sobbing, coming to us and telling us the same exact thing that they said in Choir Boy. Thank you for telling my story. Thank you for showing who I am on the stage. Again, they had never seen it either. And for that, I just was so grateful. That moment, oh God, it's so beautiful. Check out my Instagram if you want to see what it is.
I saw that it was posted. That I was like, I kind of was like so happy to see it posted, but at the same time, I was like, oh my God, I don't want people to
give it away. I know, but the thing is, we're not going back to Broadway now.
I know. Well, I do hope. I mean, I think this play is going to have a life elsewhere because it's one of the plays that viewers, if you haven't seen it, go out and read it if you can, and go see it wherever it pops up next, because it really is one of those.
Yeah, they're intending to do it in LA. I know they're intending to do it in LA. They were, but the pandemic happened, so I don't know what their schedule for that is. But so if you're in LA, you should go check it out. Anywhere it is, check it out. It's incredible.
Well, I still think of you as a baby. I still think of you as and I really believe that you were still at the beginning of your career, and but you've accomplished so much. Did you have any mentors that helped you get to where you are today, or people that influenced you over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the first of which was that Kenyatta Hardison for sure, and I'm still in communication with her to this day. So I'm so grateful to her. She's really the one that started it all. And then, throughout the years, I had an amazing teacher named Troy Burton, who was at this place called the Arena Players that I was talking about. He's still a part of my life. He came to see me. They both came to see me in Choir Boy, and that was incredible for them, of course, as well. And then like professors at college, Mary Crosaro, Carol McCamus, they were really instrumental in, developing my skills as an artist. And then that Kent Gash, I mean, he's just been an amazing mentor to me. And there's so many. There's Christopher Wyndham. I'm so grateful to him. Like honestly, Like I've been blessed with a lot of people that I look up to and that have helped me, shape who I am as an artist.
Well, it's very easy to be a collaborator with you because you're always a inspiration and a joy, and everyone loves working with you and can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you.
How do you think we can continue to create more access for young BIPOC artists?
Well, what we need to do is, first of all, is the education system needs to include the arts in especially public schools where there are a lot of BIPOC students, oftentimes. So that needs to be integrated fully. It's important. It's so important, not just for those who want to be artists, but for humans, for life. There's so much that people learn from the arts that they take with all aspects of their life. So that, and then, giving scholarships and programs for youth throughout the country for them to engage with the arts and for them to be able to see shows on Broadway, tickets given to groups of young people, marketing to them as well. And then it starts though with the producers and the gatekeepers providing opportunities for stories about BIPOC people to be told so that then these children can see it, like I was saying, and believe it and dream it and become it. But we need the stories to be produced. So those people need to really open that door up for all people to tell their stories.
Yeah, so true. As you know, our mission at Live and in Color is to connect diverse communities to create new stage works. What does having an inclusive working environment mean to you?
Oh my gosh, it means an environment where everyone is on this equal playing field. Not that I am being allowed into your space, but that this is our space collectively. And everyone has a voice, everyone is seen, everyone's stories are being heard, and that is the equity that I talk about that I'm looking for.
Yeah, so true. Well, we will continue to strive for that. So we asked our followers on Twitter and Instagram to ask a few questions. Let's take a couple of them. So let's see. Bianca Rogoff says, how do you go about rebranding yourself in the industry and having casting directors see you as something different?
I have to tell you, that's a great question. And that is something that I actually was working toward for a long time. It kind of goes back to the story I was telling of the fact that I was really seen for a long time as a dancer, as an ensemble member, a dancer in this industry. Although Dev is one of the first people to give me a principal role when I played Angel, which was incredible. But you have to have these people that give you this opportunity to show the things that you can do that people don't know. So ultimately what it was for me was that I had to start saying no to things. I mean, I had to be very clear about what it was that I wanted to do and how I wanted to represent myself. And I had to say no to the things that I didn't think would push me forward to the way that I saw myself. And so once I started doing that, I think people started to take notice. And then also I started doing a lot of workshops and development of new pieces in which people were more willing to take a risk at someone who they didn't have maybe the marquee name in the leading roles. They were developing themselves. So they were open to having new names come into these principal roles. And by doing that, I developed networks of people and people would come see it. And then they would see, oh, he can do that. So then I started to get called in for more and more plays, straight plays. That was my main thing. I wanted to really invest in straight plays. So I started to get called in for that. And I ended up, doing 2 plays on Broadway. So you really have to be very clear about what your goals are, and you kind of have to be unwavering about it. And you may think you're missing on certain opportunities, but though you're really opening the door to others.
Great. Let's take another question. Alyssa says, how do you sustain your health when performing a 2-part show like The Inheritance?
Oh, yes. Yeah, very, very important. One, I'm a big gym buff. So for me, working out is a big part of my journey, and I kind of use it to energize me. I actually will work out between shows, even during the Inheritance, because it gave me a boost of energy. So you kind of have to find the things though that work for you. That's not for everyone. Some people need to sleep in between shows. I mean, sleep is very important. So after, 2 show days, to get that rest so that you're ready and refuel for the next day, eating well, making sure your diet is good, you're not, intaking things that are bad for you. And like when I was in, for instance, choir boy, because I had to sing so much as opposed to the Inheritance, in which I didn't have to sing. Choir boy, I mean, I had to not go out to bars and loud restaurants. I mean, if I would go, I would tell my friends, I'm just gonna go, but
yeah,
I would just be silent or lip, but I wanted to engage with people. But you just have to really protect your whole instrument throughout that time. So you just have to, do the things that will keep you healthy.
Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people don't know about artists on Broadway who are doing 8 shows a week, that not only you're doing the shows, but it's a full-time job taking care of yourself the rest of the time, so you're able to do those shows.
That's right. I mean, the social life kind of goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have time for one more question. Emma says, how has acting changed for you during the pandemic?
Oh my goodness, that's actually a really great question. Actually, it's actually changed a lot, I have to tell you. So because, now there is no theater at the moment, there hasn't been for the past year and some, I then, of course, had to do a whole lot of online work. So we were doing a lot of, even with Dev and this amazing Live and in Color company, doing online virtual plays and monologues and songs. So that kind of started to hone my skills as an on-camera actor, to be honest, doing all of that work, seeing myself so much on camera and figuring it out more. And then because the TV and film industry has opened up before theater has, all of my auditions predominantly have been for TV and film. That's what I've been completely focused on. And that is something that was one of my main goals for after the Inheritance. Speaking of rebranding, that's another piece of letting people know that, oh, I actually can do that too, because I'm not just a theater actor. I'm also on-camera actor. That was something I had to let the industry know too. And I've been so grateful for all the auditions I have had. And I actually have booked 2 different TV shows, and I have shot them both. And I cannot say what they are, but one I cannot say yet, but I'm now like a TV actor too.
That's so great. Well, I couldn't be happier for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we're out of time, but before we go, please consider supporting our organization by going to liveandincolor.org to donate. All money raised goes towards our amazing artists and developing their new work. Also, make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more amazing interviews like this one with the amazing Jonathan. Also, be sure to tune in to be our guest next week when we talk to the incredible Diana Huey, who was Ariel in the first national tour of Disney's The Little Mermaid and Kim and Miss Saigon, amongst many other shows. It's going to be another great conversation. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Thank you to my friend Jonathan for joining me. Jonathan, would you lead us in a little toast as we say goodbye?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, here's to, another year of amazing work by Live and in Color, amazing stories being told about BIPOC experiences and people. We love you, Dev. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hear, hear.
Yeah.